Hi, and welcome to H3 TV. We are a little bit late today. I'm one day late. Usually I gather with you on Wednesdays, but today I'm here on Thursday afternoon with my new friend Rich from Florida. And we gather every week to talk about how do we bring hope, health, and happiness back to the workplace. There's been a lot of anxiety, a lot of people neglecting themselves in the process of worrying, or a lot of even unhappiness. So about 6 months ago, I thought, what if we start a talk show where we interview guests and we talk about what does it look like to be hopeful, healthy, and happy? So today I have Rich with me to talk about just that. Will you please help me welcome Rich to the stage? Hey, Rich, thanks for being with me.
Hey, Annie, great to be here. Thank you
Awesome.
so much.
Yes. So can you tell me a little bit about who you are? What do you do? Where do you live, Rich?
Rich Williams at thericwilliams.com, and I live in St. Petersburg, Florida, where I've lived for 35 years with my wife of 35 years.
Wow.
And I am a professional speaker and trainer, and I do some recruiting because I've been in recruiting for the last 20 years. So that's what I do.
Excellent. So today we're going to talk about how you personally stay H3 in your life and how you help your clients stay H3. So, what are some of your keys to being hopeful, healthy, and happy?
Well, I think, my faith is probably the biggest one because I'm a strong believer. And I think that, if we love God and love others, then good things happen. And so also, my family, I have a wife of 35 years and four boys from 30 to 19 now. And then friends, friends, I try to surround myself with good, positive people that have minded as me and try to avoid the negative ones.
Yes, exactly. I always joke about everybody's a Winnie the Pooh character, and who are the characters in your life? You got Eeyores or Tiggers or
Yes.
Squares. We got to be careful. So I think you talked about a couple things there. You talked about your faith, your significant relationship that you've been not only is significant, but you're also been committed to it for a long time. And sometimes that commitment to a significant relationship can be so powerful to people to staying healthy and hopeful. You talked about friends and family, but you also talked about mindset, positive and negative people. So I love those, all great tips. So do you think that hope and happiness, do they come from chance or circumstance, or are they a choice? What do you think, Rich?
I think happiness for sure is a choice. I think hope is maybe more of a lifestyle, where you're hopeful about things, where you're more optimistic about things. Honestly, my wife is more of a pessimist. She's a worry person. But I'm optimistic enough for both of us. So, but, I believe that there's a plan for your life. And as long as you're working towards helping others and working towards that plan, then good things are going to happen. And so, yes, you're going to have troubles along the way. Yes, bad things are going to happen to good people. Life is not fair, but through it all, good things are going to happen, and we need to embrace them.
I love that. I find that people that have an easier time with hope usually do have a faith because they
Yes.
recognize they're not in charge and there's more to life than just what somebody just asked me recently, Annie, how can you be happy? I know this is going on in your life and this is going on. And I said, I'm not happy because life is easy. I'm happy by choice in the midst of the challenge that I every day go after. How do I be happy? How do I seek that? How about health? What about health? Let's talk about that, Rich. How do we get healthy? Is that by choice or chance? We're just lucky, or what does health look like for you?
Health. Health. I think is it's a spiritual thing, it's a physical thing, it's an emotional thing, a mental thing, right? It covers all those bases. But just talking about physical health, one of the big things that I preach all the time, and if you follow me on LinkedIn, you see me all the time, is drinking water. Our body is what 73% water, our mind is 83% water, our lungs are 83%, whatever. So water affects our mental capacity, affects our physical capacity, and so being hydrated is so important to not only a stress-free life, but a healthy mental and physical life. So, that's one thing I talk about all the time is, drinking plenty of water. Half your body weight in ounces. That's what the goal is.
That's right. I love that. And as you were talking, I've always thought that. I mean, I'm not a lover of water. I'm a lover of pop, and my kids love water, but they make me drink water, even though I love pop, and they teach me things because kids do. But
Yes.
I was thinking as you said this, people ask me all the time, why'd you move to Florida? What's so great about Florida? And it's the water. And so not only internally that drinking of water, but being surrounded by water for me is very grounding. I walk the beach every day, sometimes multiple times a day, and just being by water, that presence of water is good for you, let alone what we put in and keeping our skin young, let alone taking care of our insides. So I love that. Water is a great key, and it does a lot, not just for our body, but for our minds. So, Rich, when we think about hope, health, and happiness, and you're out there working with clients in the HR capacity, as a speaker, as a leader of an HR chapter, what are you teaching other people? How are you inspiring them? We know a lot of people have anxiety or fear and struggles in life. So, how are you inspiring them to be more hopeful, healthy, and happy?
Well, I mean, I actually spoke on happiness at last year's annual event for our chapter. And, one of the things is that happy people are healthier. Happy people live happier lives. I mean, when you're happy, and you usually people are attracted to you. I mean, a lot of good things happen when you're a happy person. So, I mean, it's worth it. And I read a statistic just the other day. It said 67% of all people, everything that we worry about never happens anyway. And so sometimes we just have to, I mean, now the big thing is live in the moment, be authentic. And I think that's really where we need to be. And sometimes, I try to encourage people to, number one, drink water, but number two, exercise. I mean, just those walks on the beach probably do a wonderful just to get you moving, but also the beauty of that surrounds you. What an effect on your mentality, your health. I mean, all those good things happen. And so I think, those two things are huge, but, an overall mentality of, I'm going to be joyful. I'm going to be happy. I choose to be happy. I choose to be joyful. So I think those are huge, really.
I love that. And I kind of think it's like a circle, right? Like hope, health, and happiness. I think of them as a circle with H3 in the middle. Is like when you're hopeful, you're healthier. When you're healthier, you're happier. When you're happier, just like you're saying, like they're all very connected, right? So we take care of ourselves. I say movement is my medicine. Like I go for those walks, and it's not just physically, it's like your mind, your emotions, you relieve stress. There's so many positive on that. So I love that. And I think implementing those things personally, but then bringing to the organizations that we get to work with ideas on how to implement that as a team, as a culture. What do you think the difference is between being hopeful, optimistic, happy, joy-filled? Is there a difference? Are they the same? What are your thoughts on that?
I think happiness I think joyful is a choice, right? We need to be joyful in our lives. And I think happiness comes from that joyfulness. Optimism, I think, is more of a choice or a way of living. I think people are either optimistic or pessimistic, although that's not true. I had someone say the other day, I'm a realist. Oh, okay. What does that mean? I live in the real world. Okay, good for you. Whatever. But I mean, are you looking forward to tomorrow? Are you looking forward to this weekend? Are you looking forward to next week? Are you looking forward to going to work? Are you, all those things? If my last son was talking about his work, and I won't tell you where he works, but anyway, he said, I have to go to work. And I go, you need to change that paradigm. It needs to be, I get to go to work. I get to go to work. I get to go see my friends. I get to go serve people. I get to go work. When we make that little paradigm shift from I have to I get to, man, it makes us more optimistic, makes us more happy. So I think, those little things really add up.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think that it's a mindset and it's a language. Words are so powerful, and words that are thoughts, right? Like I get to or I have to. Well, you get to decide. You're up and alive today. So that's a good thing. So you get to whatever it is. I always tell my kids when they say, Mom, work is hard. I say, well, that's good. That's why you get paid to do it. It's work. It's not play, right? We don't get paid to play. We get paid to work. And sometimes we love our work so much. It feels like play, but it is work.
Yes.
I've had people say, wait a minute, you have too much fun speaking. Are you sure you get paid for this? I'm like, yes, I'm positive. But I like that. I like how you're talking about them. I think of, often people will say to me, you're overly optimistic. You're too optimistic. And I say, isn't it better to be too optimistic than too pessimistic? I think we're more comfortable with the negative. And I do a lot to protect my mind from negativity, from news. I start my day positive. I end my day positive. I'm very intentional about that because it's much easier to let negative seep in, right? Like I think happiness, you have to look for it. You have to think about where can I find the positive, especially when we go through hard things. Like you said, Rich, we're all going to go through some hard stuff, but it's a matter of our perspective through it and a matter of how we choose to deal with it. So I like that. I think happiness for me is like outside, joy's internal.
Yeah,
Optimistic is like, I always think the best. And one of my children says to me, why do you trust people and always think the best? People have disappointed you, people have hurt you. And I'm like, it is so much more fun to think the best. Even if it doesn't turn out, I'd rather believe in the good. So I like that. What allows, in what slips into your life that kind of steals your joy or your happiness? Are there things, what are the things you're concerned about?
yeah. I mean, I think negative people. You know what I mean? I think people who cause stress in our life, and sometimes it's family, right? I mean, sometimes it's other members of our family, and we think, oh, I have to hang out with them. Oh, I have to put up with them. I mean, it's not true. I mean, I tell people all the time, if that person, you're talking to me about being stressed about going to visit your in-laws or going to visit your sister or whatever the case is, stop it. Don't go visit them. You know what I mean? We have a choice. This is America, for crying out loud. But, because it's causing you so much anxiety and stress that we need to not do that. And so I think sometimes we just need to stop and go, wait a minute, why am I allowing this to stress me out? Why am I allowing this to negative affect me? And then, either don't do it and put a stop to it, or, find a way to conquer it where it's more pleasant, more palatable, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, the biggest thing, that brings me down is negative people. And, you want to, I mean, you're very giving and loving, and yeah, I mean, and I want to be the same way too. I mean, my purpose in life, right, is whose life can I make better today? And so I want to make someone's life better. But sometimes, these people, they don't really want to be helped. They say they do. They come to you and they ask for help, but they don't want to change. They don't want to make steps forward. And so, those are the people that are, probably hurt my joy, because you go, God, I want to help you so bad, and we can do this, and they choose not to. So,
That's a great example. I've only had to let a couple clients go, coaching clients, and I will work with people for a while. I'm fairly patient when it comes to other people, not myself, but with other people. And when you give them ideas and they say, yeah, I want to do that, but then they never do it. And eventually it's like, okay, I want to help you, but I can't help you if you're not willing to do some of the work. And sometimes I have unhealthy people in my life. And what I've really learned to encourage people is, even if you feel like you still want them in your life, then choose to set really healthy boundaries, limit how often you see each other, limit your interaction, what you do. And so I think it's hard, and it's hard, especially if it's a relative. For many people feel guilty. And I'm like, if someone steals your joy, if someone takes away your ability to make a positive impact on the world. I had so much fun yesterday. There's a lady in my building and her great granddaughters were visiting, and I had a bunch of beautiful dresses, half I had never worn. That is not good. I don't recommend that to my listeners, but they still had tags on. And I gave them to them yesterday, and they came over. They did a fashion show with me and her, and they were spinning. And then they sent me pictures last night. I was like, she was like, can I pay you? And I was like, no, this is my joy, is being able to be loving and generous. Yes. Rich, like you are that. It's like when we have the privilege to help another person in our corporate life, in our personal life, every day, to smile, to encourage, it's so much joy for me. Like I literally skip around smiling when I randomly buy things for people and leave, because it brings me joy. And I don't need a thank you. Just to know that I can. Oh, it's amazing. Anyway, all right. I got kind of excited there. Okay. So what are your hopes for the future? Like right now, I personally don't watch the news. Some people don't like that about me. That's okay. I don't have to be everyone's cup of tea, but it protects me. What are you hopeful about? I think there's a lot of things people have fear about, but I always like to highlight, what are you hopeful about? What are you, oh, here's Todd. The number one reason for working should be is, does this mean? This does not mean that fulfillment or happiness in the workplace is unimportant. Keep the main thing the main thing. All right, Todd, there you go. Todd is talking about retirement. We should plan for the future, but we should live in the present. We got to do a little bit of both, Todd. All right, so how about you? What are you hopeful about for your family?
Well, I mean, I don't watch the news either, Annie, because it's too depressing. I mean, and there's too much caca, and who knows what's true and what's not true. And I have retired people in my neighborhood that love to tell me what's going on. Anyway, but I'm hopeful that this, like 2022 will be. I mean, a lot of people had a lot of bad stuff happen in the last last couple of years. And 2020 was very tough. 2021 thought was going to be better, and it wasn't that much better for some people. And so I'm hoping that people like you can be a light in someone's darkness, can be a light in someone's life, that we can be a light in their life, and that we can help them have a better life this year and onward forward. My pappy always says, I always quote my pappy, but my pappy always says, people spend more time planning their vacation than they do their life. And so and that's probably true. And so I think people need to stop and go, am I happy where I'm at? I mean, the great resignation, right? They're just going to a new job, but are they happier? Do they, one of the big things, do you have a best friend at work? Do you have a best friend that you love that's why I go to work. I get to hang out with Annie. I love hanging out with Annie. So I'm hopeful the future. I'm hoping that, we'll get better, and that we will continue to learn and grow and be, continual learners, and that we'll learn from the past and learn from what happened in the last 2 years, and be better people because of it, be more overcomers, be, that good stuff. So.
Yeah, I like that. I think we have to, and maybe that's why we're here, Rich. I mean, maybe that's why you and I both do the work we do, is to help people that feel stuck. One of my motivators, and my husband teases me because he says he's so rigid and you don't like rules, but it's Darren Hardy. And he's doing a series right now on being stuck. And he's talking about, what are you stuck in? There's always an excuse. I have too many kids. It's too hard. You don't know. I've got financial. But if you want something bad enough, you will make it happen. And I'm like, my nicknames are Authentically Annie and Do It Annie. And I think, Rich, when we hear people talk about what they can do rather than what hasn't worked and what doesn't, and again, not to discount, and certainly if you're feeling alone out there, we want you to know we're here to support you, both Rich and I, but know there is hope, and things can get better. And what we focus on, we see. And if we focus on negativity and what we focus on doesn't, and Todd, I have to harass you a little bit because you use the word should in your comment. And I do appreciate people watching and listening and comment, but I never should on anybody, because we all are on a different path, and there's no should or right way to do it. It's our own journey, Todd. So I'm sorry about that. But yes, jobs are good and important, but not everybody's main concern is money. Like yesterday, my daughter goes, you don't even care about money. I'm like, but I got to get paid. Dad says I got to get paid, but I love the work I get to do. So, all right, let's see what next. I want to talk to you about, so what area of health, you kind of talked about water and exercise and movement, but what area of health, when I was a gym owner for 12 years and people would come in to lose weight all the time, and I never helped anybody lose weight, which I know is not good marketing, but I didn't care about it. I don't care about a number on a scale, but I help people change habits and mindset and self-talk. And a side effect was sometimes weight loss. But what I recognize in that is really there's 7 key areas to health. And so I'm just going to list them for you, Rich, and then you just tell me which one's most important, why, and what do you do about it. So we've got our physical health, our emotional health, our mental health, our spiritual health, our relationship health, our career health, and our financial health are kind of the 7 keys, areas that it would affect their physical health, any of them. But what area of health are you most concerned about? Do you speak most about? Do you feel like resonates and you want to make the biggest impact around?
Yeah, I probably speak most on mental health, just because of the stresses and anxieties that we've been through in the last couple of years, and what people are overcoming or not overcoming. The greatest cause of stress in the world is uncertainty, and so people, when they don't know what's coming, when they don't know what's going to happen, then they're freaking out. And so part of what I try to talk about is that you can be in control of your own destiny, that you can be your own leader, and my pappy always said, life is a do-it-yourself project. And so, if we want to do something, we have to make that change. We have to make those adjustments. If I want to be healthier mentally, then what do I need to do? I probably should be reading. I probably should be learning. I probably should be hanging around, good people that are happy and healthy. Surround yourself with people who you want to be like, and then you can emulate them and you can grow from them. I think it's the same thing, health wise. We all, January 1st, everybody makes their, New Year's resolution, whatever it is, right? And I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to do all these things. And then, 2 weeks later, they haven't done them. Why? Because they go, I'm going to work out 5 days a week. I'm going to become a vegan. I'm going to, and you've never done that before in your life. So why start? Do one thing. Start with one thing. And that's what I tell people, start drinking a gallon of water a day. See the health benefits you receive from that. Then they go, well, okay, I've conquered that one. Okay, good. I want you to start walking 30 minutes a day. Just go walk in your favorite place, walk by the beach, walk in the woods, whatever you walk, just 30 minutes a day. Add that to your game, and then, we can progress from there. But, all those things help not only mentally, but emotionally, physically. I mean, it all comes together. And I think you're right to say, all those 7 things fit together for who you are. So.
Yeah, I love that, Rich. I think mental and emotional health, I always feel like God has a great sense of humor with me because I never planned on getting married. And now I've been married 25 years and I feel like God wants me to speak about marriage. And I'm like, that is not really my thing. But he says, well, it's going to be, here we go. And then the other thing is men and mental and emotional health. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm so passionate about that. My father drank himself to death. My brother committed suicide. And 22 years later, his son committed suicide. So 3 generations of men lost to mental and emotional health. So when I meet people that speak about that, I say, thank you. Thank you that you're doing the work. It's so important. I think as women, we have a bit more permission, though not all women do, to speak more openly about our emotional, mental health and our stress. And I think there's a lot of men walking around overwhelmed and feeling like they're not going to be cool enough, macho enough, strong enough if they say, you know what, I feel like I'm having a nervous breakdown. You know what, I want to cry, but it's not safe for me, or it's not appropriate, or I was trained not to. And what happens is if we don't talk about it, we can't release it, right? So what you're talking about, those baby steps, 1 step at a time, stacking, all of them will build into helping. Even if it starts as physical health, it'll turn into that emotional stress relief. If we journal, if we talk it out, if we go to people like you and I and say, hey, can you coach me? Like, I am overwhelmed and I'm making bad choices and I feel like I'm in a pit. I mean, that's what I find when I have people, in particular men, I'm going to say right now, be vulnerable to talk about their struggles and their stresses and their addictions and their depression. There's like this, I'm not alone, freedom. And I'm like, everybody has something. Some of us hide it better than others. When I meet perfect people, I get nervous. Like, I know there's a big secret behind that because I'm messy and I like that. But I love that you're doing that work, Rich, because and that's why I'm doing this talk show, is I think a lot of people are sitting home alone, sitting behind their computer and feeling overwhelmed and isolated, and that they are struggling in silence and shame and stigma. And I want more than anything to remove that from all men and women, that we can talk about, I am stressed, or I am sad, or my life at home isn't as beautiful as my Facebook pictures makes it look, whatever their story is. And I kind of jokingly, when people come to my home, say, look at my beautiful family. Don't they look perfect? People like, yes. And I'm like, I know, I wish they were. That's reality, is none of us are perfect. And so I think it's so important for you to talk about that. And you're raising 4 young men and just to make it safe, because once we start those conversations, it is amazing how many men come up to me and go, Annie, I was crying during your presentation. I'm sorry. Or is that weird? And I'm like, no, it's weird if we don't cry. And my speaker friends joke, like, you make people cry for a living? Why is that a good thing? I'm like, no, I invite the tears that are in them out. Right. And so I love that you're doing that work. It's so important. What do you think is confusing about health, Rich? Like, when people are sitting at home listening to this, or in their office, or wherever they are, they hear you and I talking and they're like, you know what? I don't even know where to start. I'm stressed. I'm overwhelmed. I don't know if I like my job. I don't know what I like. I don't know where to start.
And I think that's the big question. I think that's what keeps people from moving, is they don't know where to start, or they think it's overwhelming. I part of my leadership training that I do is beating procrastination, and people procrastinate because they don't have a plan, or they think it's overwhelming. With my 4 boys, right? Unload the dishwasher for some reason is a big deal, And so one of my sons, I think it was my 3rd son, Dad, I don't have time. And I go, listen, the next 3 times you unload the dishwasher, I'm going to time you. And it was 2 minutes and 17 seconds was the average. I go, so, in just over 2 minutes, you can have your chores done for the day. Come on. Why are you making it such a big deal? But, some people just, when you don't know what to start, or where to start, or you don't know where to find help, or you don't know, you just stay where you are, and and then it goes inward. And wow, that's an interesting thing about men. I mean, if you just like, I think the majority of homeless are men, which would be interesting. I mean, I play golf with a buddy, and my wife goes, "What'd you talk about?" And I go, "I don't know. I mean, well, how's he doing?" He's doing good. Well, I mean, you were with him for 4 hours. And I go, I know, we don't share our feelings. We don't talk about stuff. I mean, that's just, guys just don't do that. Where, my wife goes, oh yes, I know everything about Annie. I talked to her for 20 minutes. Oh my gosh, soulmates, blah, blah, So I think, but I think you're right. I think people don't know where to start. There is a stigma, for you to say, hey, listen, I'm struggling mentally. I don't know if I'm battling depression or not, but I'm really not happy most of the time, and who do you turn to? And, another guy's going to go, suck it up, buttercup. I mean, that's what, you feel like I should do for my boys because that's what my dad did for me. No, men don't cry, and you go, crud, so I think we need to, as much as we can, provide options for people to reach out, people to talk.
I'm getting a vision here, Rich. I'm getting a vision, which is kind of why I do these talk shows. I'm always like, what am I doing next? Okay, Lord, tell me. And I feel like I'm going to do men's retreats, and maybe you're going to do them with me. And I think there's a lot of men that are struggling and want to talk about it, but haven't found the safe place to be authentic and vulnerable. And I have a couple other guy friends on the East Coast that do some men's retreats, and up in northern East Coast, I should say. And they say guys show up with all their exterior on, and by the time they leave, they're hugging another guy saying, I've never really hugged a guy. This is always trained me so to be weird. We are human. We need connection. We need vulnerability. We need for it to be okay to say, I am completely overwhelmed with my work, with my life, with my family, with my children, whatever their story is, to be safe without judgment. And it's probably why it's so important to me, is I know my brother died with a lot of pain and secrets and trying his best to muscle through with every single one of the 12 symptoms of what causes suicide, in particular men, these 12, but men and women commit suicide. I am not diminishing in any way women's mental health and emotional health. I'm just saying there is so much ingrained, like you said, suck it up, buttercup. And so, Rich, I have this, I don't know when or if it's going to happen, but I'm like, what if I created a men's retreat where it was just come and be safe, being honest, come and be safe, being vulnerable, being real, because we all do have struggles in varying degrees at different times in our life. But I think that pressure to hold, I'm in charge of the finances. I'm in charge of making sure everything's okay. I got to take care of everyone, that pressure, and then the not talked about. And you make me laugh about your wife, because defending the caveman, he does a thing and he goes, my wife and I go to the exact same party. We're both there. We get in the car on the way home, and I ask her, how was Joe? Joe's good. Joe's really, because his wife said they're getting divorced. They're going through marriage counseling. The child's in treatment. And just like how we're trained women right away, we're always relational. What's going on? What's happening? So I think, what if we could create something? And I don't even know you, Rich, barely at all. We're just getting to know each other. But I'm like, what if Rich and I create this men's retreat that teaches men some stuff about, we've got leadership, we've got sales, but what if it's about being a better human and liking yourself more, and therefore liking the people around you more in your home and in your workplace? And what would that look like and feel like to show up and be authentic and to care? All right. So anything else, any stories you want to tell us, Rich, about hope, health, happiness, work with some of your success clients, your favorite audience, anything about your personal life or professional life in either category of hope, health, or happiness that you want to share that we didn't cover today?
No, I think, you mentioned about men, I had started a company with a partner, and the partner, went off the deep end and ended up, breaking up with me. And they had the money. And so they cut me off, and they were very upset with me and wanted to destroy me and my family. And, my wife was stressed about it the whole time. And I had to put on, as the father, as the husband, I had to put on the front that everything's okay. We're going to make it through this. And my oldest son made a comment one time to my wife. He goes, listen, when dad tells me to be stressed, I'm going to be stressed. Other than that, I'm going to trust him and God, and we'll get through this. And we did. So it wasn't like it didn't happen. But I think sometimes we need to, be there to support each other. When we have a loss, we have to share those feelings. I mean, my wife is very big on me. The boys have to see you sharing your feelings. The boys have to see you vulnerable. The boys have to see you, because if I don't teach them, where are they going to learn it from? They're not going to learn it from their friends. And so, if I cry watching a movie, which happens, and they go, you're crying. And I go, God, that was so emotional. Oh, come on, Dad, but does that give them the right to cry? Does that give them the right to be emotional? I don't know. But, I try to be a good example to my boys, because that's my main responsibility, I feel, in my life. Someone said, it was in a job interview, actually. What do you want on your tombstone? And I go, I would like, he was a great husband and a great father. Well, what about business? What about work? And that, if my wife and my boys think I'm great and think I did great, then that's all that matters to me, And sometimes we need to stop and think and go, work isn't the best, but you know what? I have my health. My wife has my health. My boys are healthy. Everybody's healthy. So, and we're not going without. We're not starving. We're not, everybody seems to be pretty good. So, let's rejoice in that. Let's, sometimes you take out, I said, when people are struggling, I go, get out a yellow pad and write down everything you're grateful for. And you'll be amazed how big the list is. And then once you do that, every day, get up and read that, And the other thing that I always tell people, during the pandemic, we had a couple neighbors that were really getting cabin fever and getting depressed and everything. And I go, you know what your job is from now on? Who can you bless tomorrow? Who can you go and make their day? So, I mean, whether you're bringing a piece of pie to the widow or to the widower or to the couple who just had a baby, bring them dinner. If and what does that do for you? When you see them blessed, you go, oh my God, I feel good. I feel good. That makes me happy to make other people happy. And I go, so that's what you need to do. You need to go out there and serve others, bring joy to others, because that's when it returns to you, right?
That's right. I love two things you said that I think are really important is, oh, dang it. What was the first thing you said? But your second thing that you said that I really believe, you asked, am I being a good role model? And I always encourage parents, don't tell your kids what to be. Don't tell them how to do it. Don't shit on them. Don't put on them. Show them. Mm-hmm. Kids watch what we do so much louder than what we say. Right. And so you being able to be vulnerable and have tears and say, when men say to me, I'm sorry I was sad, I'm like, that was a really sad story. I'm sorry when people aren't sad, because it should touch our lives and we should be able to be touched and move to tears, move to joy without apology. So I think you're doing an excellent job role modeling. The second thing is a lot of people talk about gratitude. And though I like gratitude and I think it's good, it's all about us. And I think when we are just living a grateful life, which is a great place to start, we can only live a good life, but you added to that, Rich. And that's exactly what I teach. I don't know if you know that, but what I teach is once you get done writing down what's good in your life, go do something for someone else. Right. Because a generous life is a great life. A generous life takes us out of our own blessing and allows us to bless another person. Not because we get something in return, but because a generous life is great. Like the joy that you get, and depression's all about looking inward, right? So when we get out of ourselves and we start to, who can I serve? How can I show up? I say 3 things every day. Every morning, look for beauty, be aware of the struggle, your own or someone else's or in the world, and then ask, how can I serve? And if every person did that every day, what's beautiful around me today? Right. What's beauty in and out of my life? And then, where's their struggle? And then how can I serve? I love that you said it's a piece of pie. It's a knock on the door. It's a listening ear. It can be anything. Serve one another. Because I think that's where we go from a grateful, good life to a great life, is that generous life that is about not just what I get out of it, but what I give to it. And I know, Rich, part of that comes from your faith. I also like your story about the worry with the breakup of the business. I had somebody write something negative on Amazon about one of my books. And it was not a person because they had read the book. They were just mad. I wrote the book and they just wanted to be mad, and they're not the healthiest person. And I was heartbroken about it. I was sad because they wrote this whole negative thing about me. And I was sad, but I was kind of praying for them being quiet. My husband was mad. What are they doing? It's going to ruin your career. And my daughter calls me laughing. And I said, what's so funny? And she said, what they wrote makes your book sound even better and more true, because you can tell the mental illness and whatever that's behind all of these stories. So anyway, it's fascinating. And I think when you do have hope, when you do have faith, Rich, even in the struggles that will come in our work, with our relationships, with our family, we can still stay positive and optimistic. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being authentic and reminding people it's okay to cry, whether we're a man or a woman. It's okay to feel. Our children watch what we do even louder than they listen to what we tell them. Thanks for your great examples today. So Rich, if people loved you and they want to hire you to speak or work with you as a coach, where would they get a hold of you? What's the best place?
TheRichWilliams.com.
All right.
Very easy.
Oh, go ahead. What?
No, very easy. Very easy. TheRichWilliams.com.
TheRichWilliams.com. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us. I'll make sure to tag you. And if you have questions or comments for Rich, please add them to LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, or for me, and we will respond to you. Thank you so much for being with us at H3 TV, where we gather every week to share hope, health, and happiness. Have an incredible week.
Thank you.